All right, welcome back from the break, everybody. So now we're going to go into a pretty important section, um, and it's called valuations, because value is what a sponsor wants from any type of marketing activity, and sponsorship is obviously marketing. They're not doing it for exposure; they're doing it for other reasons. And different companies have different ways that they value things. What one company may perceive as a ton of value, another company won't care about. That's why in our first session we had an energy drink and some endemic brands. They have different senses of value. What's been most difficult, in my opinion, in the past couple of years is that with the change in how events are run and a lot of online activities now, and COVID changed quite a bit for motorsports, that the values are starting to change. And value now doesn't just come from going to an event and racing and participating in an event and being a brand ambassador. You can create value in many different ways, even when you're not racing. And we're going to talk about value and valuations because traditionally, and in the book, which was written 10 years ago, there was a very common way to value things. And in motorsports, we had traditional values. You had your logo on your car, your helmet, your race suit. You had banners. You might have appearances, hero cards. You have autograph signings, meet and greets. There's a lot of things, tangible things that you could do that would have a value. And the way you calculate that value is by comparing it to relative media. What I mean by that is, let's say you got 10 seconds on television. If you were to buy that same network, what would it cost? Well, if you got 10 seconds of visibility on screen, perhaps that value would be the same as a 10-second commercial. If you got a half a page write up in a magazine, that magazine has a rate card, a media card of what an advertiser would have to pay to get into that magazine. And if you got a half a page write up, well, the relative value of your write up might be the cost of an ad in that magazine. Now, because of this, the world that we're in, everybody's online. There are many, many, many different outlets and many different social media tools that we can use to create value. And in many cases, the values are changing and they're constantly fluctuating. Where one person might have a lot of followers, a brand could perceive that to have value. Where I personally have learned that the small endemic groups have far more value when it comes to marketing effectiveness than large memberships and large groups with a ton of people, but they don't feel like they're part of a community. So we're going to talk about value, the common deliverables that you can list in a proposal. You want to show what a sponsor will get because yes, even though the main value may not come anymore from logos and visibility, it is primarily what motorsports has been known for and what racers show and what a lot of the sponsors and the brand managers have seen. So you want to list the value of what you can offer in terms of what Megan was saying earlier in the proposal. You have line items of deliverables that you're giving and you're offering. If you can find a relative media value, you could probably put that in the proposal and estimate what your overall value is. When it comes to intangibles, things like reputation and integrity, well, those are priceless. So those you can't put a dollar amount on, but let's say you're not getting a lot of television time, you're not getting a lot of announcement time, you're not even in the newspapers or the magazines, or you're not being written up because perhaps you're not yet winning races or getting on the podium. Well, you can still create value through what you do if you have a reputation, if you have integrity, if you have a lot of loyal fans, if you have strong relationships with other businesses that you can introduce a company to create B2B and add value to them. So you want to look at value from a sponsor's perspective. It's not how many times you won a race, how many times you got on the podium, how many times you were mentioned. It's how many times your sponsor was alongside you when you won, or how your sponsor helped you. If a story can be remembered and shared, now it starts to compound that value. And that's what you have to show in a proposal, which is not that easy. So what we do first is we put line items of the things that are easy, your tangibles. I can give you logos on the following things. I can be at the following events and make a public appearance. I can distribute this information to my database of so many people. I can do a social post and reach this number of followers. And all those things can be quantified. Then the real value comes in to the sponsor of how the sponsor will use what you can do for them through the deliverables that you've listed in order to sell more product or raise their brand equity. And sponsors usually know because they see, oh, this person's on television, this person's going to be in magazines, they're going to go to 30 events this year, they're going to be in front of 1,000 people at each event. It's a small event, but 30 events, okay, that's 30,000 people. Perhaps they can hand out samples, and now we don't have to send somebody to that event. We can use the racer or the team to do that instead. So the value comes from showing that you are working on behalf of a company as an extension of their marketing or even an extension of their sales arm in order to generate revenue for that company. Value is not what you need to race. Gee, I need new tires, I need new wheels of transmission, and I need $100,000. Can you give me $100,000? That's not what we put in a proposal. We put in a proposal the value we can generate for sponsors if they were to purchase similar media or similar visibility in the public media. And George said there's a question.
I think there's more of a comment. I think
Okay.
if you have a case study as well, those are really valuable to showcase.
Yes, and there are several case studies. There's two actually in the book. You can't use the numbers anymore like we did back then. When I wrote Motorsports Marketing and Sponsorships, back then you could say every click was worth 5 cents or every impression was worth 2 cents and every visibility was this and that. You could actually put a dollar amount on it and sum it. Things have changed because values have changed. And I guess what we'll have to do is after this summit, we'll have to update using current example, maybe even Megan's program. We could use that, or someone on the call. We can figure out how they created value. At the end, we're going to do a sponsorship success story where you're going to hear about how Jason Coleman was able to land a primary at Eibach. He's now the Eibach Springs trophy truck driver because of what he did. And he'll tell you how, and we'll show you through a video, the value that he created for Eibach and why they now pay him. So that's a good point. Yeah. Yes, we will do that. The valuation section could go on for 3 or 4 hours. That's how detailed it can get. We're going to try to condense this just into a half an hour of where value is. But there's something I was just thinking and I forgot. Oh, appearances and meet and greets. Your value it doesn't have to be just what you're doing at the races. Your value can come in what you're doing when you're not racing. And I like this example of Ron Capps was telling me once that he spends more time promoting at Napa Auto Parts stores than he does going to racetracks. So he does meet and greets at Napa. That's where the value comes in. He brings people into their retail store because they want an autograph or a poster. So value can be created, and that's again what this whole sponsorship summit is about: is how do you create that extra value? Now the trick is putting a dollar on it, and that depends on each company. So before I keep going, Megan, did I forget something here? Is anything you'd like to add?
No, I just want to make sure people know that still doing the signage, the logo on the car, on the shirt, hospitality, tickets, anything like that, that's still very important. We're not saying that, you shouldn't be trying to put logos on the car anymore. We're just saying it's so much more vast now when it comes to sponsorship. It's not just getting paid for a decal on the car. It's so much more than that. So B2B, B2C, any opportunities you can do with that. And a great example is hospitality. And so if you do go to any of the big NHRA drag races where you'll see Ron Capps, you see that all of those top fuel teams, they have their pit area with the car where the crew works on the car, and then right next to it they have the hospitality area. And so this is where all of those deals are made at the track, and where they start to they'll bring in people to start conversations to create deals for that. So that's something that if you can do hospitality, that's a great option to have, because you want to be able to bring those marketing executives and the people that make those decisions invite them out to a race and show them what all you can offer the fans that are going to be there. But then also, you don't just want to make it about you want to make it about them. And so see if you know a retailer or a wholesaler that could help them, invite them also to the race, introduce them there, and then that's how it's a win-win-win situation for all three parts. So we might be talking about hospitality later on, but that's just a really great example. And like Alex said, doing the appearances outside of the racetrack matters too. Trying to bring customers to their stores. So whether it's a company that just sells products in the store like Napa Auto Parts, or if it's actually Napa that you're working with, you want to, like they said in the very beginning, you want to just increase that bottom line for them. So however you can help increase sales. And it's really limited to how creative you can get with it. Whatever you can imagine, the number of assets is only limited by what you think you can do. So try to get really creative when it comes to that, but also make sure that you check with your series that you race in to see if there's certain stuff you can and can't do. Because I know from my side of it with NHRA, they can be very limiting as far as what you can do while the event, the drag races are going on. And so, like for us, we're not allowed to like sell merchandise outside of our trailer. They would need to purchase a spot in the midway in order to do that. So, try to see what that cost is, and then see how many people are on average attend that event, and see if it's going to be a benefit for that sponsor to go ahead and purchase that spot and work with you at that race. So make sure you check with your series, but then also really try to get as creative as you can when it comes to the tangible assets.
So in the past, the tangible assets were, like I said, logos on most of the properties that we had, everything from the awning to the side of the hauler to the car, the helmet. But today with social media and the way the internet is changing things, we are now in a world where we have an electronic highway that connects directly from a company's front door to its customer's front door. And that electronic highway could be a click. It's online, it's digital. So a company can instantly reach its customers and give them information or provide the ability to purchase something with that click. And so as a brand ambassador, as a sponsored athlete, as a representative of the company, and as a part of that company's marketing arm, you want to help create that highway and link the company to its customer. And if you can do that, then the company will know how to create value through its own messaging. So sometimes you don't necessarily have to show that you're the one bringing in all the dollars or the money for the brand. If you can make the connection to the brand and its customers, then the company knows how to sell to their customers. That's why they're in business. They will be able to find the value in your relationship with your fans. I learned that on this summit by promoting through my friends who were endemic. They had podcasts, they had shows, they have small followings of just a few thousand followers and viewers that watch their shows. The value that had in spreading the word of getting us the Motorsports Summit out there was far more valuable in effectiveness, far more effective, I should say, than I also partnered with some very large organizations who promoted. And their promotions didn't end up in the same results as the small endemics. So value comes from hidden pockets of like-minded communities, members that all serve a common cause. And if you can be the brand ambassador within that community to a company that wants to reach that following, you can have a lot of value to them.